Like we
We'll
are doing.
continue. Yeah, we'll continue
Yes,
to
yes.
explore what's new in BC 27.
Okay.
And if there is any questions other than that, I'll be kind of happy to kind of prioritize that. That's okay. I don't think that'll be a problem. Right. So this is our extension. Let me clear things up because I'm doing a lot of things here and there. Okay. First thing first, I'm pretty sure most of you know about it, but there is something called as RecordRef, which is the record reference data type in Business Central. Have you guys noticed that, used that in the past? No?
No,
No.
no, actually,
That's
no.
interesting.
Record current, but record reference. No.
Krishna, have you ever used it?
Sorry, sir, I missed what you were saying.
I'm saying, have you ever used RecordRefs?
Recon reference. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Record reference,
it's yeah. So with Business Central 27, I always wanted kind of people, or not people, but Microsoft to kind of look at that and enhance it. So we'll kind of try to understand it. And Prem said he uses it, which is nice because it's a pretty good thing in Business Central and Nav. I always love this. So let's see what came up. So let me create a new file. Let's say not inside this. I'll create it inside source. Test.al. So let's say if I create a code unit and number it as 50101. Hopefully that's not taken. So for Sahib's sake, when you create a data type of kind RecordRef, it kind of makes it generic. Okay. So let's say you have multiple scenarios where you would like to do different things on a similar kind of on a record, right? But you don't want to write code specifically, table by table. In those situations, you can use RecordRef. RecordRef is a reference to your record, but the beauty is you can use it for doing different things, right? So let me give an example. So you can here do like this is sample RecordRef. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to open that. Open in the open, you need to define which table this is pointing to. Okay. So it has a parameter of number, which is the table number, and then you have an option to say, is it temporary, the reference that you're creating? And then if you are making it for a specific company, then you can specify the company name if needed, but not mandatory. It can just work with the number. So I can say, or maybe let me create something else. Let me create a page extension. Okay, so that we can see that. So let's me create a vendor page extension, which applies to vendor card. Okay. And then this will create an extension object. I'll just copy this. Okay. So let's say here I added this, and then just like how Microsoft does on the Hello World, I'll add a trigger on, let's say, on open page so that we can see what's happening there. And here, using the sample record ref, which is my record ref, I can open the table that I want, which in this case, let's say vendor. The way you mention is with database vendor. Now the record ref knows that it is right now pointing to the vendor table, but then there can be multiple records entered, right? So this is not for the record ref this session, but you can surely use different things here. Like like you can use the partial load using the load fields and set load fields and all. Are field loaded or not? You can change the company, you can mark certain records, then you can clear them. You have to close, you should close the record ref once you're done with it. So it's important. Then you can surely do other things. You can count records, you can delete all using record ref also. You can also find and do everything with it. You can even do a get by system ID. So you can point to a record and say, okay, this is where I'm pointing at. So there are different things that you can do with that. But then there is another friend of it, which is called as FieldRef, which is a pointer to a field. So you can create a FieldRef. Now FieldRef, when you point a FieldRef, the FieldRef need to point to a field. And that the way you point it is you say, okay, from this RecordRef, I'll tell you which field to point. Okay. And then here, what you can do is you can then point it to a field. And let's say 1. Okay. Now, whatever the field number 1 in vendor table, that's pointed with the FieldRef. So far, so easy. And then you can then do a different things with the FieldRef. So let's see what you can do with that. So you can check, is it active? You can calculate it if needed. You can fetch the value of it and other things. But there's no way to get the caption of that field. If you somehow wanted the caption of that field, it was an error message till now that you cannot use a caption of that particular field. That gets a little bit trickier in some situation where you want to do certain things based on what captions are needed. There had been situation that you say that, oh, I would like to do this. And then other thing in the RecordRef scenario, what happens is, let's say you want to do it in certain cases if a particular field is there in that table. So let's say if you're building an ISV and whatever your logic is, you only want to do it if your field exists there. So if I wanted to kind of say that, okay, I have mapped this RecordRef to something, and then my sample RecordRef, is there a field? You can see that there is a field exist. But then when you look at it, it gives you an error message. It says you need to give it a field number. So with this, you can, because when you will build it, you will surely get the Boolean out of it that does this field exist or not. And based on this, you can do different calculation around the system. Now let's talk about what has changed. So when you do a RecordRef.field and then point it to the number, it can be tricky to pointing at the number because we all know that Microsoft is moving from the direction of saying number is my primary key for a field. They haven't said it loud and clear, but it's very clear how you can perform certain activities on table extensions or the tables that you create, that when you change the field ID, it is not considered as a destructive change. Have you guys noticed this, Krishna Prem, that you are allowed to change a field ID on your tables for sure, but that is not considered as a destructive change. It was a destructive change in Navision, but from the time of Business Central, you can always renumber a field and that doesn't becomes an issue while publishing your app. If you haven't tried it, go ahead and try it. The field number is not the primary key. Surprisingly, the primary key of the field table is now the field name. So if you change the field name, that is considered as a destructive change. But if you change the field number, that is still okay. There's no destructive change associated with it. Following the similar line, Microsoft said that, okay, we have been working with this by doing the field number with this. Why don't we change it so that it can point to the field name? So till Business Central 26, you can do this. But now I can also do this. I can say number, not in double quotes, but in single quotes if it has things, right? So I can do this. Now, the reason why I'm getting this error message because it is not supported with runtime version 15.0, which is version 26. To use this, you should be on version 27, which means you need to make sure that your app.json is pointing to runtime 17. If it is pointing prior to that, you will get an error message in your code saying, okay, this is not valid. Going forward, I would highly encourage that if you have codes where you're doing a field number fetch, make sure to change them to the field name, because at least for me, I don't know, I haven't got it from Microsoft, But the way I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure that the Microsoft is going toward that direction where number doesn't remain the primary key, which makes complete sense to me at this moment. The same here, you can do if field exists. And earlier you were able to do number only, which is the default, that it expects you to do a integer. And it says that there is no overload, but there's a built-in method of kind field exists of type text. I don't know when that number will be obsolete, but I hope that happens sooner than later, that people were forced to change the field IDs to field names, because that's how everywhere, if you have worked on different parts of the system, you will notice that it is already mandatory to kind of change everywhere, right? So if you're referring to a page, Microsoft suggests you to not to refer it with a number. They always suggest you to refer it with a name. So I think it's an error now, but let's check that. So if I do a company information, and then I point this to, let's say, record, and then I say 79. Oh, it's not a error yet, but it should be, because Microsoft doesn't recommend you to use numbers as much as you can. You should replace with the name like this. I thought it's an error, but okay, it's not, it seems. But I would prefer using this because that makes it simpler for the system, because anytime this name changes, it'll automatically get updated, because Microsoft will surely use the references and all. Changing numbers is something that I think will be obsolete in future, and that's just my thought. So make sure that anywhere where you're using numbers in your project, replace them with the name. There's one area where you cannot change it, I guess, at this moment, where you're setting table relation and you have to use the field IDs. That's the only area, I guess, that's where it is not possible, but try replacing it. So with the new version, you can now use the field names on the RecordRef.field, as well as you can also use the field exists with the field name rather than the field number. Any questions there? Okay. Another one, which I was waiting for a very long time, and I think it's a pretty good addition to the product. So now if you have customers who take a lot of time to test out things, right? It takes a little bit of time for them. And they are in a cycle of upgrade because it's time, which is it's March or October. It you get a limited amount of days till the point you can upgrade. Now, when the preview was released, this feature was not available. But now when you go into it and you say, OK, when I want this to be updated, you can now come in and say that you would like to update for 27.0. So a customer with their own data can test in the preview. Where this scenario helps, 2-3 scenarios. One, if their extension has a breaking change, because you get an email even before the release of version 27 saying that, oh, this extension is going to be causing problem with version 27. So start fixing it. And maybe that change is something that you cannot ask your customer to test on 26 for whatever reasons, right? Because that has been obsolete on 26 and they need, or it's a new feature that they would like to test on 27. You can modify that and then create a copy of customer environment as sandbox, and then schedule that sandbox to be upgraded to a preview version. Now the rules of the preview version will apply to this environment, which means that this will be automatically deleted after 30 days of version 27 release. It will get updated at any given moment of time whenever Microsoft thinks that there's a better enhancement on the preview. So they'll do that. So make sure that you don't attach or you don't upgrade a sandbox to a preview if customer is not adding, is not sure about that, right? So there should not be any transaction into it, as in the kind of there is a timeline. Let's put it this way. So if you create it today, whenever GA happens for version 27, let's say in the first week of next month, after that, Microsoft will not even inform you, but 30 days after the GA of version 27, those environments which are upgraded to preview or which has been created as preview will be dropped. Now, for all these years, when Microsoft launched the preview section, this was a very demanding feature that people wanted so that the customer can test on their data. Today, when we create preview environment, they are not related to customer data, and it's nearly impossible for customers to go ahead and test in an environment where they don't see their relatable data. With this update, where you can update or upgrade a sandbox to a preview version, that gives that capability for customers to upgrade and then test out these features before the GA happens. Make sense? Okay. If that does not, okay, let's talk about something else in that case. Now, while I was going through enhancement on 2025 release wave 2, there are certain things that have changed associated with Copilot. For that, let me open one more tab here for 26. So between 25, 26, and 27, where Microsoft is changing a lot of things, they're surely working on agents. So the Copilot is becoming part of things every day. And there are a lot of AI features which are part of the system. So you can always visit the Copilot capabilities or whatever that page is called, agent capabilities. And this will show you all the capabilities that are either production ready, which are down there. And these, oh, sorry, these are production ready and these are yet on GA. So these are previews and these are generally available. That means these are out of preview, so you can actually use it. You can also use these if needed, but you see a lot of them. Now, people who kind of are aware about it and search about it, they know that some of these, like payable agent and sales order agent, are part of the paid AI solution. You need to buy a pack from Microsoft of number of packets that you can buy, and then based on that, they charge you based on how much you use these. But then others are kind of, as of today, available for free. But it's getting trickier for kind of explaining customer what's available and for free and what's not. So with this version, version 27, what they have done is when you search for the same page here on version 27, they give you a very clear differentiator of what's being built and what's not being built. So all these functionality as of today are not being built. Only these two things are Microsoft built. That means Microsoft will charge you for these. And then these non-built ones are from Microsoft and you will not be charged for using them. Does that make sense? So when a customer asks you, will I be charged for using that feature? Just come to this page and tell them yes or no, right? Now I'm interested into understanding what happens when I build a custom Copilot functionality, because you can do that even today, or not even today. From the time when Microsoft introduced Copilot, you have a possibility to kind of build AI features for your customers. So now let's give it some time. What happens when you build a Copilot feature for your customer? There are multiple parts into it. One surely is an AL extension, which will interact with the LLM. But whose LLM? Because whatever Microsoft have made it available here, that LLM you cannot use because that's inside Microsoft ecosystem. They train it, they do whatever the kind of changes that they do on the system. So it becomes a little bit trickier of how I can build it. So the second piece of this equation while building custom Copilot solution for your customers is to actually have a Copilot exposed. Now, we have tried it earlier. I guess, I don't know, you guys were here or not back then, but the whole idea of building a Copilot feature is to have a LLM model, a copy of an LLM model available for yourself. Was anybody there back then when we were talking about it? I guess I forgot about it. I don't think Sahib was there for sure. I don't know about others, but
Copilot session.
not the Copilot session. We did it last year or so. So that's where I remember it. But okay, let me quickly show it to you. So what happens is when you go into your Microsoft Azure as a partner or even as a customer, you have a new area, which is not new, which is available for a very long time, called as your OpenAI, right? Now, this is where you define what you want to do, right? So what happens here when you come in here, you are able to create a new Azure OpenAI. Okay, I guess I have already created one, so I don't need to go in here. But when you do that, what happens is you get a library of all the AI models that you see on the web. Let me see if I can show you guys those. Okay, let's start creating it. Let's do it as OpenAI and let's do it as test. Okay, my keyboard is not working. Okay, I would like it to be free for the time being. The subdomain will already exist. Okay. Okay. And then when I go into next, and I say next, and I say next, that creates a new Azure OpenAI resource for me. What happens with this is you as a partner, if you are interested into it, that you build your own model and you're not building it from the scratch. Let's be very clear. What you're doing is you're utilizing whatever are available from the market, whatever they are trained on. So there is a, let's say there is a model. How should I tell you that? Okay. Let's say there is a model for Microsoft Copilot, right? That is based on a particular model. So what you can do is when you go into this Azure AI Foundry, this is where you see your model. Now, the whole idea of creating these models, if you want to create them, is that they remain within your ecosystem. Microsoft guarantees that they will not use all the questions that you ask this model to train the model. Okay, so I can ask it any question, even related to my business, and it will not go and use that data for training purposes. So this is your, let's put it this way, this is your own chat GPT. And when I say your own, if you're a partner, then it's your own. If you're building it for your customer, then it's their own. Anything that they ask to this model is not going to be gone public, one, and that data will never be utilized to train the model. So when you use the free versions of Copilot or GPTs and other thing, what happens is all the questions that you ask and all the responses that it gets, it provides you, all that data is used to fine tune the model, saying, okay, here is the question that has been asked. Here is what I have replied. Just use that to kind of train yourself. So as a business or as a partner, if you're building a solution, you have this whole model catalog, which shows you all the models that are available from GPT audio to mini, nano, O3, codex. If you're doing coding and all, Soras, O3, O4, GPT, all these models are available. And you can just subscribe to any of these models based on their different models, there are different prices for sure, right? Once you kind of subscribe to that model, you get this window. Now with this window, you can surely connect with your AL code saying, okay, I'll ask you certain questions and you will give me responses. And then you can surely train it. You can say, okay, I'll use this model to do this. So you can give it a prompt. And then here you can give it some examples. You can give it some variables. In some cases, if there is some data, you can always attach it to your data from these options. Out of this, majority of them are free preview, but then you have AI search and Cosmos MongoDB if needed. So you can use those area to kind of train this, right? Here are the parameters that you see on your any GPT models to set up to kind of get different kind of responses. And then once you have built it, you can also deploy it as a web app. Now, this scenario is majorly for customers where they have a model which they want all their users to have access, like a search engine, more or less. But the guarantee with that model is because it's hosted inside the boundaries of Azure, any questions or responses that will give you will not be used for training purposes for the model. So then you kind of build a own chat GPT for the company if you are a customer, and then you can also use it for doing other things, right? So the first thing is that you build this model, you subscribe to this model, either as a customer or as a partner. Once you have done that, then you surely need to add some AL code to interact with this model to say, okay, here is your endpoint, that there will be some endpoint here, right? This is the code, how you interact with it. So you can just change it based on the language that you're using. This is Python, so there are some examples how you can do that. And then once you have done that, then you can use these models to be so I have this API key for this, and then I have this name. I'll also have an endpoint for it. So using this endpoint and API key, I can call this model and it can respond to my queries inside Business Central. So whatever you see inside Business Central, like in your analysis mode or in your number series where these things are available, there is a behind the scene, there is a model by Microsoft, which is responding to those responses. There might be one or multiple, I don't know. But those models is something that you cannot use when you are writing that code to interact with these models. So the first thing, you subscribe to this model, you create it as a customer or a partner. Then you do write an extension. But then to make that extension available, you have to register that extension inside this page. So when you build a custom AI model, you will your capability name will come here, status will come here, publisher will be your name. And then now, because this is new, I would like to see how billing type can be used. So I looked at that page, and then here is where I see that there is a, okay, here is, should be a section of, okay, let's see. Where is that? Copilot feature generally available. Oh, that's a sub page. Okay, here is the sub page, and that sub page have this option of billing type. Maybe this is an enum. Let's see. Yes, it's an enum which says the values allowed are not build, Microsoft build, or custom build. So if I'm not wrong, when you build your own custom models or custom AI solution, then in those scenarios, you will see custom build on your page, on this page where this will be published. So on this page, you will set it to custom build, hopefully, if I'm not wrong. Let's see what other options are here because it says value allowed. So when you are registering it, you can only choose these values. But let me see what other values are here. Okay, so the one is not build, Microsoft build, custom build, and then there is undefined. Okay, now that's new. Maybe that'll go away later, but okay. Now, how you do that? There is actually a, let me see where I am in. I am in system application, uh, code unit. There is a pilot code unit, I guess. We did try that earlier. So these are the built-in Copilot objects for you. right? Which helps you to kind of integrate with the Copilot capabilities. Uh, there is a, I guess this is that. Let me see. Yeah. So there's this function called register capabilities. Now, there, whenever you create a custom solution, you have to register the capabilities around this page. So when you call this function with the right set of parameter, this allows you to add that capability on the list of pages. Now the function I've changed, it says register SAS capability. I'm a little bit surprised that it says SAS capability, which means even on the custom uh, modules that you build or AI solution you build, it seems you'll not be able to call it from on-prem. I'll have to test that out. But here is the event that you subscribe to on registered capabilities on this page, Copilot capabilities, which then calls the register capabilities, which then in turn calls these, right? So let's go into this. So this is the event. And then this also gets triggered when the page gets open. So if your capability is not registered, when you open that page, it'll automatically get registered at that moment. So by calling this event, you are able to add those capability into it. So make sure now there is a billing type. So you need to pass that billing type also so that it get registered to the right capability section. I still have to kind of read more about uh, what I should be choosing and how Microsoft will be billing for that. Now that's an interesting change. But from a user standpoint, when your user asks you that, okay, is this feature being built or not, just go to this page, review this and tell them that, okay, you are only billed if you are doing payable agents or sales order agent at this moment. This may change in future, but as of today, that's how it is. Any questions here?
Open AI it is free or it is we need to subscribe?
That varies. So if you are doing, let's say, let me see where that went. Okay. So based on what model you are choosing, there are different pricing option, right?
Oh,
So when you go into the model catalog, there are, I'm pretty sure these latest one are surely charged more or charged based on how many uh, calls you make, right? So let's see where that is. So, okay, is there somewhere license? Nothing here. Earlier it used to show what how much cost it will be, and maybe I'm picking the wrong model. No, it's a pretty new model, GPT-5. Okay, anybody knows a recent model? So yeah, here it also tells you when was the last time it is used for training on it, and then you can check on Azure to see what pricing it'll be, right? I don't think that they have a pricing calculator here. Okay, let's see if there is one. Okay, let me see. Azure OpenAI, right? So here I can see that where I'm doing it, and I'm pretty sure it also gives you an option. So let's say if I took GPT, okay, so these are only public ones, it seems. So, okay, if I do this, pricing is not in this region. Oh, it's based on where we are, okay. So it tells you how many tokens you will use, and token is a denomination which is used when you're interacting with an AI model. Typically, a word is considered, 6-letter word is considered as a token, right? So if you use 1,000 tokens, then for a pretty amount of time, then this is how it is, how much you want to cache that data. So based on different parameters, you can calculate, and then that varies from model to model. So if you go to pretty old models, let's say 3 is not here, but I guess 3.5 turbo is here. So that's priced based on different options, right? And then what kind of support is available, what kind of estimate will come down based on what you do, right? There's no upfront cost, it seems. So you are not charged just to create a model, but based on how many tokens you use, they get charged for that.
How many tokens means how many times we are calling the API?
Not exactly how many. So like let me explain you. Okay. AI token calculator. Okay. So there are public calculator available to kind of do token calculators, LLM wise, right? It's not specific to anything, but you can just type it like generate and let's say email for me that I would like to send. And as you can see, the tokens are being counted here, right? And that varies based on what your text look like. So based on your text, there can be different tokens, right? And then it tells you how many tokens per model it kind of supports and all. So it's a trickier calculation how Microsoft is making it. It's not just Microsoft, I guess it's generic right now. But it should have a fixed bundled price or maybe price per call, which makes sense. But right now it's price per token. And these tokens are sold as packets, I guess. And then you buy a packet per, there are 1,000 token packet like token packages that you can buy, and then as those packages get consumed, you will have to either renew those packages and all. So it varies based on what you're doing and how much you're doing into it, right?
Okay,
Now,
all right, fine.
yeah. Now, yeah, while doing coding from AL, you can surely define this area, which is where you instructed that what kind of questions you will be asking and uh, what kind of responses you are expecting. So you can just do that, and then that respond to it. So like I can say here, respond me with emoji for every question, for every response. Okay. Okay, I've just said that. Now, what I'll do is it this. And then now if I say hi, which I said earlier also, it now remembers the context that I've given to it. And then it is still not saved, I guess. Is it saved? I didn't have to apply changes, which is weird. Apply changes. Okay. So now it think about it, and it doesn't generate tokens, but yeah. Okay, let me write it down here. For every response, make sure that there is an emoji. There's just an instructions of how you want it to act, and I'm just giving you an example. But like when you watch these videos, which says, okay, anytime you talk to an LLM, make sure to give it a context of who they are and all. So those kind of things you can kind of instruct here, and then your question here. So anything that I'll ask it, now it'll respond me with an emoji. Always, because I have told it to, right? So, and then here you see how many tokens to be sent. So token breakdown, message history 5, user query 3, system messages 11, few short example, max response, and estimated token count. So it kind of gives you how many tokens it's consuming when you're making a call. Right? So anytime, whatever I ask it, it'll always reply with me an emoji because it remembers the context, whatever question I ask. So you see those videos where they say, okay, make sure to tell it to act it like this, make sure to give it some example, all that kind of get in here where you kind of explain it how you want it to act. And then your actual question goes here so that it responds to you. Make sense? So try that out. It's a pretty interesting area if you haven't used it, but it's getting charged day by day. So, so yeah, as a customer, if they want to build their own AI model, you can surely host it inside their environment. If you're building an app where you want the model to be with you so that you can train it on different data set, then keep the model within you and then publish that so that customer also gets billed accordingly how they use it, right? It's billing and other things. I guess you can talk to someone else. I'm not the right guy for that. But okay, let's talk about the other thing, which is very interesting, which is what used to happen is when you have bigger extension. Now, this is a pretty small extension. When you do a build, which is Control Shift B, now you have a capability to cancel the build. And same goes for the publishing. So if it's a pretty big build, let's say, just to pick a number, let's say 1,000+ objects, it takes a little bit time to build the app or to publish the app if you are doing it on your Docker environment or sandboxes. Sandboxes you should never do, but let's assume if you're doing that. So when you do the build process or publish process, it may take some time, but here you can actually get an action to kind of stop it. So you can cancel that build process and then let's say if you while it was building you thought about, oh, I forgot to do this, or when it is trying to publish it you remember that you forgot to do that. You now have an option here at the bottom when you're trying to build or publish, that it is you give it a right to cancel it. So you can always do a cancel if it's taking a lot of time or you remember it at that moment. It's happening so fast on this one, but you can actually do that. I have done it on a customer project, tested it out, but a pretty big extension. So they can always gives you that permission to kind of close that session. And then if you remember in the previous version, Microsoft built or added a capability that if you're trying to publish something and it fails for some reason, the system will automatically restore to the older stage of that extension. So that supports that while you're trying to publish it. If for some reason you think about something and it's partially published and it's still work in progress, when you hit cancel, it's the environment or the sandbox environment where you're trying this automatically tries to roll it back to the earlier working stage. So don't worry if you hit the publish or the build button, you still have an area where you can go back and say, okay, I would like to cancel this. Okay. Now, okay. So there is another enhancement. Let's talk about it. That I can now create. Let me do. I don't have any example here, so let me do it here. Okay. Let me do a table extension. And let's call it as whatever. And let's point it to customer table. The timing. For the demonstration purposes, let's keep it simple. If I add a field and I say it's 50101, it's called STH demo, and the data type is Boolean. Now I'm just going to use this for internal purposes. I don't want it to be kind of visible on the screen. I don't want user to kind of add this. So what we do as of today is we say, okay, the field is added. Let's add the caption because that's important. And then let's do the data classification, which is also important. And then because I don't want user to kind of modify it, so because this is my internal field, I set it to editable as false. So far, so good. And this is something that I can publish on my environment and it should work as it is. So let's look at it. It's on the right environment. Yes, let's try to publish this. Got published before I could have canceled it. So now the field is available behind the scene. You might not have, as a user, you might not see it on the front screen, but then you find some smart users who know that there is something that's happening behind the scene. As a developer, you surely have coded it in a way. Oh, there's an error. What is this? The runtime version is set to 17. It must be set to 16. Whose runtime I set to 17? Oh, 16. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so the runtime version tells you where it is going, and then it also tells you, uh, are you pointing to the right version? If I've set it to a higher version because I was doing something else, I'll get an error message if I try to publish it on an environment which is lower than what it is today. Now, what happens with this is customer know that there is a field, and then with the possibilities in the product right now, what they can do is they can go ahead and do a let's get into the customers page and let's try to personalize this. Come on. So when I try to personalize this, I see that there are some fields option that's available. I go in here and I know that it's called something as SDH, and I don't see it, but okay. It should show me that field. Where is that? I did add it on my table extension customer, and the field is added. And then I see it here. Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry.
This field is not in added in page level, correct?
Sorry.
This field is not added in page level. That's why I think it is not showing here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. My bad. Okay. So now what I do is, as Krishna is saying, I just create a page extension for it. And because I want to see it sometime, I can just do a page extension of this. And then I don't need all this. Okay. Let's remove this also. Okay. And then here on this, what I do is I change it to customer list. And here I said layout, and inside layout, add last to my control 1. And then I say that, okay, I have a field, just get that added. Here it is. And then I say it's visible false because I might need it sometime. So I say, okay, just set it to visible false. That way, whenever I need it, I'll be able to kind of get that into it. So now that also allows other extension who are taking a dependency on your extension because they know that there is a field and they would like to kind of add that using a page extension or a page customization where it is possible to kind of customize the page and then add a certain field into it. That allows them either for users from the screen and for other developers who are taking a dependency on your extension to add those fields into their page customization. Let me show it to you in a while. Okay. So now at this moment, a user can go in and say, okay, there is this field and I would like to kind of drag it here. So far, so good. No problems with that, right? Let's do a clear all. Okay, yes, done. Okay. Now let's take the other example here. I can, if I just have to add a field and I'm taking an extension dependency on you, what I can do is I can do a, for page customization, you don't need a number. So I don't know why it's recommending that. Okay. And then customizes customer list. Now, typically what I can do is I can go ahead and do the same thing here without consuming an object. I can say, okay, go ahead and add it via page customization. That saves an object ID for my page extension. In that case, I can just remove this for a while. Okay. So that's possible. That way it's visible. Now, in the previous releases, Microsoft did add a feature on this called Allow in Customization. Now, typically, the values of it were, I guess, earlier was only always and never, I guess. Microsoft have changed that and added three new option, which is as read only, as read write, and then never was always there. So if you set it to never, let's read the documentation here so that it's visible. The field cannot be used as a source expression for the new page field in page customization. So if you are doing a page customization, you cannot use this field in your page customization. At the same time, the new options, which is as read only, will allow you to add it, but it cannot be modified. You can add that field, but it cannot be made editable. As read write, that means you're allowing other apps or other developers in your company, if they are doing page customizations, typically think it from an app for app source. So you would like to control certain fields, and then the old value always is marked as obsolete. That means this will go away sooner than later. Okay. So if I say as read only, sorry, never, what will happen then is I'll start getting error here saying, okay, this is never, so you will not be able to use it. Even if this field is set to editable true, and I set it to say read only, I have just added it. I don't know where how it's going to reflect. I just added it. I have removed the editable property right now. Let's try publishing this on our environment and see what happens. So the field is editable right now, and I've added that. And I've set the property as read only. So we'll see what happens when the customer list pops up. So with this, you can actually control your fields, how you want them to be behaved when somebody takes in dependency on your extension. Are they allowed to modify it when they add it using page customization object? So now if you look at it, I guess somewhere here that field should be here. Where is that? I don't see that field. Is a customer list, right? I'm on the customer list. Okay. And I did add last on my control one, and I did SGS demo. What I'm missing? And last to my control one, and my control one is the control that I'm repeater control. So I should be here somewhere. Why it's not coming up? Well, let me try to personalize this. Let me try to add fields. And let me try to go to that field if I find it. No, I don't find it. And why is that? Okay, so that means if I add it as read only, then anybody who is defining it on page customization will also have to set the property as editable false. I think that's how they are controlling it. Let's see. The field can be used as source expression for new pages in the fields in page customizations, but it cannot be made editable. Okay, so if I made it editable and then I tried to publish my page customization, it's not going to be seen on the screen. But if I, as a page customization, when I'm doing, if I set the property as editable false, I'm pretty sure it should be visible now. You should be able to kind of see that field into the page, which I don't see still, which is a little bit odd. That should be here somewhere. Okay, that's what the feature said. Okay. No, I don't see that field yet. No, I don't see that. Customers, I don't see that. Now that's a little bit odd.
Can you add adapter name in that way?
Okay, let's try that. I doubt, but let's do. Number is the first field, right? So let's do that after this. I have the application area set, which is needed. I have the caption, I have data classification, I have everything that's needed. So let's try this again. Okay, so we are back on customer. I still don't see that field. Now that's, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. I still don't see that field. That's a little bit odd. What I'm doing wrong. Okay, I surely will have to look at it. Why it's not showing it? Because I have set it here. And I'm on the right page, right? 22, and I think it's 22. See that. Yeah, I'm on 22. I'll have to check that, but let's try one more thing. Is this wrong? Is this wrong? I don't know. So let me do it. Always. Okay, let's see when it is going to be deprecated. Always is deprecated in favor of read only and write only. The warning will become an error in the release. I don't know which release, but this has been marked for deprecating. Okay, so this time I have the edit table set to false, but I have the always set on the field at the table extension level. And I'm just trying to add that field on my page. No. Okay, there's a little bit odd now. I'll have to check that. What's happening? Because typically it does allow you to kind of do that. I haven't seen this not allowing me to do that. Last try. No property. Just do the field addition after the number because it's there. Okay, no, I literally don't see that field now. Okay, something is way off of what I'm trying to do. I'll have to go back and check what's happening, but that's what was written and I thought it'll work as it is, but it doesn't seem to be working. But yeah, we'll figure that out. I don't think that'll be a problem. Okay, any other interesting topic that you guys have read through which I might not have read yet? I surely don't look at the functional step. I should start looking at it going forward, but yeah. Oh, Prem is saying check on extension management. Yeah, the app is there. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's a dev thing. I don't know. I'll have to check that. But it surely gets getting updated. For whatever reason, I don't see that. Okay. Anything else that you have seen which is super
Is
interesting
there
that go ahead.
is there any way to check that if there any extension in which page it is there? I mean, let's suppose there is this extension,
Mm-hmm.
PC preview. It is multiple pages. It is applied, maybe
Mm-hmm.
3-4 pages, some customer, vendor, or item. So from the extension level, is there any way to check that where this extension is
The only
working?
way I guess is to have the access to the source for sure, right? So when you have access to the source, you can always download the source, right?
Okay, okay.
And then because the whole point of building extension is if you know where all it is impacting, then you might build it, right? But if you have the source code control, then you can see this. Now this is the whole code. You will not be able to see it on what do you call that?
Okay.
On ISV apps,
Yeah,
right?
actually, why I am saying in on client, this extension is not downloadable. The source code is not downloadable. So in that case, all is false. That is one point.
Yeah, that happens with some of the partners who still doesn't understand that, I guess. And then yeah, if it's an app source app, make sure that you are, it makes sense that you don't allow it to download it. But if it is a PTE, it makes no sense to me saying, okay, show it to me what it can do and all. So yeah, as in for PT, we keep the source code open, source control open so that people can download the source anytime. And everybody should do that, I guess, for PTE perspective. But yeah, if you're building something as an app where you're putting time into it, that is not for a customer, that completely makes sense that you block access to download the source code. But yeah,
Okay.
as many people, as many views, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you guys have seen, which is interesting?
Yeah. Have you tried that connecting to OpenAI from the Business Central?
Oh yeah, we have videos available on YouTube about it where we did that in the past.
Okay.
And then I'm pretty sure those videos will have a link to the GitHub where the source code is available. We even tried doing connection with the ChatGPT, but it requires you to have a paid subscription. It gives you for free for 5-10 days or a month or so, but that 1 month is only during the time when you initially subscribe to it. So if you have already subscribed to it, that time period is already gone. So if you have someone who haven't subscribed to the ChatGPT yet, you can use their subscription, and then for a month or so, they give you free access to interact it from externally. So I'm pretty sure there are videos available on YouTube on the channel about it. You can
All
surely
right.
go ahead and watch it, right? So there is ChatGPT videos. There is this OpenAI capability that I showed you. Those interaction video that we have done in the past. So go ahead and watch it.
Okay.
If there are any questions, I guess we'll be happy to answer those. Okay. Anything else, anyone? Okay. If something pops up in your mind during the week, let me know into the in the community. Directly send me a message. I'll make sure that we include it in next week if you haven't talked about it yet.
Sir, I am waiting for your response. I will ping you after that, na? Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'll drop you what we have promised after the dinner, after my dinner. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, guys. Then thank you. Have a nice day. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank
Same
you.
to you.
Have a
Bye.
nice
Good
Thank you.
night.
day. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.